What's up? What's up? Welcome to the Void. I was supposed to have some music playing, but I don't see any kind of reaction coming up. And last show it didn't work. I don't know what's going on. I tested it the other day and it worked. This crazy laptop, whatever. Excuses, right? I don't know. Look, I've been too busy to really put as much effort to the show as I'd like. Though I think about it a lot. There's so much going on, right? Why? Because I have to try to eke a living in the capitalist realism that we live in. Hold on, let me freaking see. Someday I'm gonna have a live producer, somebody out there, some aspiring producer type person is gonna say, "Damn, cool concept, crappy production. How can I help? Please help. I don't know. However you can, just do it. Just whatever." But yeah, that's just not what I like. What I want to do is try to facilitate discussion, and this is just a means to do that. So the production sucks. Sorry, I suck at it. I don't want to do that part so much as I just want to talk about crazy crap like the inevitable collapse of capitalism. Right, so this thing that I'm trying to survive in, it's almost like going through rapids, right? Everybody lives in this sort of stream, or I guess rapids. Even in a rapid section of a river, there are eddies and small pockets where things are sort of chill. And or maybe they just swirl around the same pattern over and over. And a lot of people in our society are in those little swirl pools, and a lot of folks are trying to find their way into one of those places. You know what I mean? Is the way I see it. Now, you guys tell me if something else is going on. But the way I see it is that now the water is becoming more turbulent, and less people are able to find these sort of eddies to chill in. And these sort of slow spots in the river to hang out and just go in their pattern until they move on or something, you know what I mean? In their life is turbulent and like the troubled water in the rapids. We got a couple folks on. We got a bad echo. So is that an echo, or is there like background noise? Because I think there is. Hold on. Man. Bad echo. Let me see what's going on here. Okay, how about now? Is there a bad echo? Thank you, by the way. South Beach Exotics, what's up? What is up? And Superfan Chris, good evening, sir, and welcome back to the show. And I am the bro. Thank you, South Beach Exotics. All right, so hopefully not as much bad echo. Let me know. Thank you, by the way, for letting me know. So hopefully it's a little bit better. Yeah, so I mean, I throw the show together. Like tonight, I was working till like 7 something at the shop, trying to get some restoration. I think what got in my eye is actually my right eye, but my left eye has something. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh. There's grinding that goes on. There's like bits of just whatever. I'm working on some old Mercedes. There's like 60 years worth of. I mean, think about last time your car got detailed. You know what I mean? There's probably a lot of crap. Think about like 60 years of who knows when this last thing got detailed. You know what I mean? Squirrel's been living in it. You know what I mean? They are not very good at the domestic chore type duties. You know what I mean? Or detailing a car. So yeah, it gets sort of gross and weird. But yeah, that's just what happened. Thank you again for the feedback. So we're talking about, what were we talking about? The inevitable collapse of capitalism. Yes, I know it sounds crazy. I put a quote by Mark Fisher. He wrote a book, a lot of books actually, critiquing capitalism and sort of what is happening in the world, the culture around what we know, and it's basically capitalist realism. This notion that if you have if you own the way of creating creating profits basically by using people to either utilize equipment or work whatever scheme you got together, that you are using them to also take some money off of, basically what they're producing, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not negating the risk, right? The risk that people who have invested in this business are taking by starting that business and hoping to find people to man those, quote unquote, those different occupations and or schemes that are concocted, right? But on the flip side, there is also, excuse me, I need to plug this thing in. I don't trust this laptop. I think one time I did a show, laptop died. That was lame. What was I saying? Anyway, there is a risk on the creation of an enterprise, and that is true. However, the person that is tying their labor to your occupation is also taking a risk in choosing your occupation over choosing someone else who might be of the same wage and benefits package, etc., and they choose you over someone else, and they sort of just do that, right? So there is a risk because they don't know, for instance, if the CEOs are going to sell. I think there's going to be some possible buffering. I've just got a warning. I think the unfortunately the internet connection is not that super great in the shop studio right now, but working on that. All right. I don't remember. We were talking about risk, taking a risk, making a business. Okay, yes, and they take a risk too by hitching their wagon to you. So, so on one hand, you could say you could recognize the risk of hitching their labor wagon and wage wagon and planning, right, wagon, I guess, hitching that to this business and deciding to work for them versus someone else, building tenure with them and the brand loyalty, company loyalty, blah, 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 with them as opposed to, what's it called? Someone else, just a competitor, someone else. Right, because you don't know if the CEO is going to sell out to a vulture capitalist firm, or you don't know if they are going to, I don't know, not take their health seriously and then conk over, and then who knows who the company is willed to, and now your labor and all of this planning, financial planning, is on the line based on very few decisions made by very few people. So it's very precarious. And just like we've seen over and over again, as jobs get outsourced, you have people who depend on this wage labor with a capitalist enterprise, and then they get their jobs shipped to a place that doesn't have wage controls, that doesn't have safety issues, or excuse me, safety regulations, and those kinds of things, which basically we are exporting those problems. We're saying we don't let our children work there, we don't want to work in those kind of conditions, but we'll export it to like Vietnam, or we'll export that to Bangladesh, that it's okay if they can, as long as they can make the profit, or we'll export that to China even though there is a potential or fake, I don't know, ideological threat from China, and an potential imperial threat. I mean, especially with what they're doing in South China Sea and supposedly building islands and stuff to sort of game this the world system of ownership of land and influence for mineral resources, etc. As we supposedly share the planet together, since we are all on this one sort of spaceship hurtling through space, if you think about it on a grand scale. That's sort of what it is, right? And we're this minuscule little tiny like on. I mean, if you believe in an infinite universe, which can you even fathom infinity? And then on the flip side, can you fathom the edge of infinity? And the edge on the edge of infinity is nothing, right? Can you imagine nothing? Remember, nothing, it does not include space. So if you're thinking of empty space, then you're thinking of something. You can't think of that either. So when I say nothing, I mean nothing. Can you think of that? It's almost as hard, or is as hard, as thinking about infinity if you really think about it, right? So if that's the case, then we're infinitely nothing in the infinite universe. Think about it that way. Or we are infinitely nothing in the infinitely nothing of the non-universe that isn't part of the universe, right? That doesn't exist. So, so we may as well not exist to that. You see what I mean? So we need to look at it instead of looking at it like I have no influence on what's going on, and and it's just I don't know, a small group of people basically get to run the world and how the spaceship sort of operates. You know what I mean? I don't know. Is that the system that we want? And basically, what is it? Is it anything more than money and resources anymore? Right? So whoever can buy the most influence, basically, get away with it, is basically the name of the game. There's no. I mean, maybe there's some conspiratorial and other kinds of ulterior motives outside of profit and money motives, but I don't know. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on the matter? And by the way, are we having any audio issues? And did you even hear any music? I don't think we even heard any music. I don't know what's going on with it. Anyway. Okay, so, oh man, hopefully you guys aren't running into too many problems on the stream. Let me know if you are. It's telling me, I'm getting an error message that the stream may have problems, so I'm just letting you know. All right, so what are your thoughts about this inflammatory discussion? Now, I don't believe that we're necessarily going to move into a paradigm whereby we're looking at state-controlled this or that, or this authoritarian socialism or communism or something like something a la Mao or Stalin, that kind of that nonsense. I don't see that happening. However, I'm a little bit afraid of what is happening on the right wing of things. And we're in such an incensed and an inflamed society that me even talking about right-wing stuff in a critical manner makes people probably think I'm this long-haired hippie Democrat something or other, which, I mean, maybe long-haired and hippie and whatever. And I did register Democrat. Why? So that I could vote Bernie 2016 and Bernie in the primary again. Both useless acts of just nonsense. Why? Because the DNC picks who they want. That's it. And who does the DNC pick? They pick whoever gives them the most money. And who gives them the most money? The people? The normal humans give them the most money? No, probably corporations and their lobbyists and or their agents of some sort, right? They're representatives. Excuse me. They're human representatives, right? So, I don't know. What are your thoughts? And it looks like we got 3 folks in all of the world, billions of people in the world, and 3 folks are on the show with us tonight. Show in the discussion, let's say that. I'm supposed to have a Skype connection, but man, things have just not been working a lot lately. It's probably just, it's my own negligence. That's what it is. I've just been really, really busy trying to launch a business. And here's the thing. I'm talking about the inevitable collapse of capitalism as someone who's swimming in capitalism right now. And that's trying to start a business, trying to start an enterprise, trying to, what's it called? Oh, I have Skype again. Okay, so if you want to Skype in, wow, I remembered my password. Holy dang. Okay, so what was I saying? Yeah, there's a Skype link in the description. If you have something you don't want to type and you're like, man, I just got to say it out loud on the air or on the stream or whatever, then just get right on there on Skype and let your thoughts flow. But so yeah, I'm in the thick of things. So what makes me different now? You know, since if I'm not going to be a hypocrite and just basically live the new neo-American dream, which is to escape exploitation by becoming the exploiter, basically, right? What is it? Stop being the employee and start being the employer. Start making money off of what this other person is doing. Now, you could say, hey, look, I put in a lot of effort to invest to create this mechanism by which this person benefits, and, you know, we should split some of that profit, etc. And I would agree with that. And I would say that we should have some level of sharing, right, in this creation of this enterprise and the continued growth therein and participation therein of the employee, right? So really, what I would do, and this is, I mean, for business partners that end up watching this video, which is it's publicly accessible, if people, what I want to do, what I'd like to do, if they want to, because they're my business partners, I have to think about what they say, right? It's a democratic process. What I envision and what I propose is that there's a method, somehow, some way, that we create the means by which our employees become partners with us based on their labor time that they spent with the company. Because if, let's say, we grow for 3 years, if this person has been with us practically since day one, or at least since year one, and they've grown with us for 3 years, then I feel like that they've made a big contribution to this enterprise, because those are the most pivotal years of a company. Now, in some instances, some companies did make initial employees shareholders and partner, basically, in the company once it went public or was big or whatever. But you know, there wasn't a further mechanism for which the mass employee, basically the mass laborer within their organization, was able to have a partnership in that enterprise that they also helped build through their labor, right? So, dang, this is a really blue screen I got going on here. Let me see. Sorry guys, someday I'm gonna have live producer that's gonna be like, yeah, let's fix the lighting and blah blah, whatever live producers say when they do their live production stuff. Let me do this too. There's just a lot of blue light all over. Yes, it's because it's Windows, and I just have like Windows up, and there's just nothing up. Because I don't have any slides, I don't have any like websites to show you. No, I have nothing prepared for you. I was working too late. Why? Because I just got, well, I've got to get some projects done. I've got a deadline that we've got to meet. It's tough to do those things sometimes, and you got to work hard. So ask anybody that started a business. So I feel you when you say, yeah, I risked all this blood, sweat, and tears, and and whatever. Yes, okay, I got you. However, I don't believe that you should then throw your employees sort of out to the wolves and make them compete for a wage, when the only reason that you're still afloat and you get to go on vacations to wherever you wanted to and take your super duper Instagram photos and whatever shit, and you get to do those things, and the business keeps running. Why? Because those people are doing your work for you, right? You taught them some stuff, and they're learning things. They're getting paid for their labor, yes, but everybody's fighting for something that they're basically forced to do, because you can't say, you know what, I don't want to play this game of finding some wage labor that I'm going to go do and never own any part of this thing that I'm building by doing this work. And you could say, well, what's the janitor doing building? How's he building the company? Well, by being the janitor, by keeping the place clean. You partnered with somebody that will do that. And sometimes janitors, they end up knowing so much about the business and the people, and they become the sort of hub of loyalty to a degree within a business community sometimes, depending on, it depends on the corporate culture, blah, 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 whatever. It doesn't matter what they're doing. You know what I mean? I mean, we live in an era where most of the time they don't want to deal with the HR issues and da-da-da, so they just hire out a separate company that does cleaning, which in that level would have its own issues with the ownership of the company versus are they just paying wage labor. And then people, of course, always complain about wage laborers not doing the amount of work that they're supposed to do per hour. Well, why would they? Why would they? You're paying them as little as possible. Why should they work as much as possible, right? And what are they working towards? They're not working towards helping to owning a piece of this thing. They know that you're just going to make a whole bunch of money and go get a pool and drive a big truck and lift it up and drive with big chrome rims and shit like that with stupid decals on the side. And they're like, why should I work extra hard for you, right? And I could see that. I worked at some in the corporate world, and watching the way that people are treated, as far as how it's more of a, you're trying to extract a certain level of, almost like a certain frequency of person that operates on a different frequency. You're trying to get. That's why you have to go through like hurdles of different interviews. You have the phone interview. You have your application first, right? And it's how you filled it out and blah blah, all this crap. Because you got to remember, there might be 1,000 people. Think of this is depressing. Think of your odds if there's like 1,000 people who are applying for a job that you're going for. What are your chances? You know what I mean? That's like terrible, right? Like what is that? 1/10 of a percent or something like that if there was 1,000 people. I don't know. Yes, I think so. Anyway, whatever. I don't know. Someone do the math. But it's really depressing to even think about, and especially in the middle of an unemployment issue that we're having now. So there probably are literally 1,000 people or more applying for different jobs. And this is an issue that people have to face, this idea that I have 1/10 of a percent of a chance of getting this job. Is that worth spending the time to try to get this job? Or should I just go mow lawns? Or, people are going to have a reckoning on that. Or also, there's going to be a situation where employers know that there's a mass of people who are desperate, right? What will they do to your wage? Or will they start laying people off to replace them with cheaper wage labor? And then what are they going to do? Then they're going to say, look, we'll keep you on, however, we're going to have you do these things, and you have to bend over, and we have to be able to probe you, and whenever we want, and these kind of things. But you get to keep your job, and you get to keep your benefits. And that's what's the most important, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. And how many people get stuck in the trap? Right? They get stuck in the trap, and they bend over and get to probe, and they're okay with it, because that's the culture. I mean, that's a new culture. I don't know how new it is, but I mean, it's from back all the way from Office Space to The Office. I mean, it's been going on. Dolly Parton, 9 to 5. We build these cages for ourselves, and then we wonder why we, are disappointed in life. And then we go and gladly pull the ox cart wherever they tell us to pull it. And I don't know. And I think a lot of us have the blinders on, I don't know. A lot of metaphors tonight. What do you guys think? Thank you for letting me know the audio is good. Let me know what you guys think about the inevitable collapse. Here's the thing. Okay, well, let's be more specific. What does that mean? That means capitalism, this idea that people aren't partners, people are commodities, right? That you, as the owner of the means of production, get to own all of the proceeds of that production. And so you get to determine with whole determination what the outcome is of that enterprise and of the profits generated by everybody, instead of it being a more egalitarian democratic system. I mean, if you have 30,000 people under your employ, how many people's opinions should count, right? Should it just be the family that owns it, or the board, or the CEO, or you know what I mean? You have 30,000 people. So my argument is that as the pool of employees, or the pool of participants in the organization, let's say, as that grows, you should have a more and more democratic method of operation, right? Because you should treat people as partners. What do I have to do with my business partners? Before I create a people are partners framework, I have to clear it with my business partners, right? And do a democratic discussion on whether or not we're going to have a democratic organization, right? We have to first have this democratic discussion, because this is not the norm, right? What's the norm? It's not democratic, it's authoritarian. So, and Americans are all so eager, I mean, not all, but a lot of times they are so eager to uphold some rationale as to why we should have a hierarchical standard of being, of a mode of organization, as opposed to being partners together, all the way from whoever you think the lowliest entry level slug on your enterprise, all the way to the most high level sophisticated managerial class person that's there. It doesn't matter. All of these people are needed, otherwise get rid of them, right? They don't get rid of them. Why? Capitalism's supposed to be excuse me. It's not COVID, I promise. People act like nobody was coughing. Sorry about my that hum in the background. That is the my air conditioner for my house. I can't turn it off. I mean, I can, but then I have to take it apart and like kickstart the motor. For you AC people out there, I understand it's probably the start capacitor for a motor. I know. I don't want to get into it. So I'm just going to leave it running. I'm sorry for the background noise, but that's why. There's no other explanation but the truth. There you go. All right, we got 3 people who are on. So who wants to talk a little bit about the system, or what are your thoughts on just, I don't know, what are the thoughts on what you've been thinking? And especially about this upcoming collapse. So while I'm waiting for someone to jump on to the live chat or to Skype, let's talk about why I think it's inevitable. Well, first of all, we have finite resources on a finite planet, and capitalism requires continued consumption and increasing profits to continue. I mean, the web of capitalism and what it has come to represent encompasses that notion, the culture, the ideology of it, and also the execution therein of continuing profits. And not only continuing profits, but increasing profits, right? And so it's it's just, I always wondered this when I first entered into the fray of being in a company, right, or part of working for, not in a company, but working for a corporation. And I remember looking at some of the financial statements, not really understanding it at the time. I didn't know about finance stuff at the time when I was looking, and I had this sense that what was that thing? Dang it! I had a point. Now it deviated for some reason. I had a I don't know. I forgot. Had a random thought about when I was first working. I think it was Convergys Corporation. Actually, before that, even I was working for something called Matrix out in Utah that got purchased by Convergys Corporation. Some of you guys may be familiar. They probably have Convergys in a state or a city near you. Anyway, I had this sort of feeling that, dang, what was the point that I was getting at? I feel like I'm right on that same road of where I was getting, but I don't remember where I was going. Hopefully it'll come back. Dang, I hate that. But it has been a tiring time. A lot of work going on. So that's probably part of it. But it's going to collapse. Oh yes, being part of corporation, sort of realizing the goals of the corporation, and they would try to help communicate that. They would try to communicate that to the employees, because I don't know. I guess people felt better because they were connected. Most people didn't know and didn't care because it didn't really affect their salary, especially when you look at how sometimes they'll report that their quarterly earnings were higher or whatever, and the performance was better or this, that, and yet your compensation didn't really change based on the quarter. So why, what's the information for? But you get to sort of look behind the curtain and understand what is the implicit and explicit mode and or like goals of the company. And that's to make ever increasing profits, right? And there's a point where, as a salesperson, I would be like, dang, if I nail some great level of sales, they're going to expect me to do better than that, and then better than that, and keep getting better every quarter. Otherwise, I'm going to quote unquote max out, right? And I won't be able to. There is no additional growth after that, and then sometimes or you may be stack ranked, right, which means that you have to compete with others based on performance, and then the people that are at the bottom get kicked out or lose their job or whatever, off the team, etc. So anyway, you start to wonder, what is the logical conclusion of this? How long can you keep going with the notion of continued profits year over year increasing sales, those kinds of things, into what? Forever or what? And then it's never your business to worry, right, about that kind of thing. But it sort of is, because you've hitched your labor wagon. Now you could say that you could change jobs, but if you've ever spent time as an employee, you know in reality that labor fluidity, the ability to basically jump from one job to another, from one occupation to another, is not that easy. So you can't just up and leave your job and move to another job because you don't like it. There's a lot of logistical issues, financial issues, a lot of issues that come into play to that. So yes, you can get a new job. But it is not also as easy as some would make it, make you believe, I guess. So, what do you guys think? Let me know. So, what's the inevitable collapse? Well, capitalism always needs cheap labor, right? There's going to be some kind of war or some kind of reason to continue making sure that there's somewhere out there there's cheap labor for us, for the capitalists. And it may include the United States, right? So we may become so desperate that we become the cheap labor. There's a group of people who want to deregulate. They just as soon would have us become a third world country, be like any other country that they exploit. Why not add the nation of the United States as an exploited class? They could do that as long as there's a raft on top for the people with money. I mean, we're at a situation where there's so much money. It is a zero-sum game. The capitalists play like it's not. But there is only a finite amount of money that's out there. So if ultra-wealthy people are hoarding the money, then they're basically going to be holding hostage the rest of the folks that are out there trying to make the remainder of the issued currency work. Now, there's other assets that you can work with, etc. But at the end of the day, a lot of stuff boils back down to the currency. How much does a piece of land cost? How much is XYZ worth? A car, a house, a building, whatever. It doesn't matter. Any of those things converts into whatever currency that you're talking about. So you have to be able to access that, and we're at a point now where we have no real way to recover, right? What industry is going to happen in America? We exported all of our industries out, and the American education system is so poor, right? Not because the education or the educators are bad educators, etc., but it's been so terrorized by a certain political group of people who don't believe in governmental entities unless it's the military or police, which is sort of telling as to why. Why do they only care about the military and police? It's sort of weird. They don't like the government, but if it's military and police government, it's okay. It just also happens that the military and police often conduct violence against non-white people. It just sort of that's what happens, and it's just really weird that all other government entities that would help non-white people are shunned. I just don't get it. Maybe someone can tell me a little bit about that. That would be interesting, but. Basically, without the government's intervening with our tax dollars, a lot of companies would have gone bankrupt or just ceased to being able to continue, right? And instead of giving the employees, instead of necessarily taking ownership of those enterprises and continuing to just pay the employees, they gave them bonds which they may or may not pay back. And so if they go bankrupt, well, they don't really have to, they're restructuring their debt or whatever, they can figure out a way to where they can compensate themselves, go bankrupt, and basically the business entity goes away, and I don't know, I mean, basically they're not held liable for the debts of the business entity. Right, so even though they got money off of it, right? So the American people are paying for these companies to stay alive, instead of the American people paying for the American people that are employed by the companies to stay alive. That would be socialist. But to run it through the hands of people in between the people is capitalist, and that would be the way to do it, right? Does that sound sort of stupid? It does sound stupid when you say it that way. Well, when you say it that way, you're reflecting reality. Unfortunately, we live in this sort of upside down land where people that are paid to talk about reality in a different mode that doesn't make sense, right? Why are we trying to save Hertz Rent-A-Car when you could just buy the entity and or just put the employees on a salary, and it'd be cheaper than whatever amount of money that you bailed them out with, right? That money just basically went into the hands of the ownership, right, and went into the hands of the executive class that gave themselves bonuses, gave themselves extra money, and then let the thing go bankrupt. And then, sorry that we're bankrupt, we can't help you with pension stuff, or we can't help you with whatever. I don't care how long you worked at Hertz. Right? Sorry. New company, who dis? Right? That's what they do. That's exactly what they do. Or they'll sell it to a vulture capitalist who then tears it apart, including your job. They got the money, right? And then the vulture capitalist sells off the assets, and maybe they pay back some of the bonds, maybe they don't. Either way, whoever's running the thing's going to grift off a chunk of the money, right? For some reason, it's A-okay to give it to this capitalist entity for the people, to all those owners and executive class, to take their piece of it, and then maybe if a little piece is left for the basically like the what's it called? It's almost like the platform, right? After all of the different platforms it goes to, if there's anything left to the people at the bottom of the pyramid, then yay for them. If not, then find your own way. Now, there's going to be a point, just like at the at the turn of the French Revolution, as feudalism gave way to capitalism. There were massive problems within the economy, and now, instead of actually fixing these problems, for instance, now having massive problems in the economy due to the pandemic, due to a number of factors, but we were already in bad shape prior to the pandemic. It doesn't matter what Trump was saying. The reality is we weren't in a good spot before the pandemic. Employment numbers supposedly were up, but they also don't count people who primarily live on gig work now, and they don't work, or they don't try to continue finding jobs, etc. out there in the world. So there's people out there who aren't steadily employed that are also not counted as unemployed, right? And you could say, well, the gig job is their employment. Well, great. Now we've basically in one fell swoop lost all labor laws because your gig job is some kind of independent contractor job, etc. And now suddenly, suddenly you are going to be possibly subject to being encouraged to do something that's outside of the bounds of law or outside the bounds of safety, right? For benefit of the company, right? Just so you can continue gigging with the company. We're already seeing some of these things with the way that people are competing for trying to get orders from Amazon, to people speeding to try to get as many deliveries as they can, even if the app warns them of their speeding, etc. Those kinds of things, and other things as well, But anyway, it's in that realm. You're still, it still becomes a what's it called? It's still a market, right? So the captive nature of the labor market makes it so people really, once somebody knows something, right, it's going to spread around. It's called efficient markets theory. So if something happens in the market, like a new opportunity comes along, Uber type stuff or whatever, new gig comes up, right? those opportunities are going to get, the information about those opportunities is going to spread, right? And people who know about it are going to act on it, right? So by the time you know about it, who knows how many other people might have already known about it, right? And at some point, it's going to get saturated. And then, yeah, you could say in the long run, it's going to equalize. But as Keynes would say, in the long run, we're all dead, right? In this sort of fantastical capitalist ideology, we have this notion that, yeah, you could just find a new job, or yeah, you could eventually the market will seek equilibrium, but that equilibrium might result in a bunch of laborers dying because of starvation, but then wages will equalize, right, or something like that. Those are the kinds of things that we end up facing, right, in this reality. We're seeing it. People are feeling it, right? People commodify their lives. They look at their time that they spend and whether or not they could be making money instead of just enjoying the fact that they are alive on this earth and the time. I mean, it's just that there's still a little bit of nature left in this world. We haven't shit on everything altogether. I don't know. There's an alienation that happens. People are alienated from each other. People are alienated at work. People are alienated from the product of their work. I mean, there's a lot to it. So, I don't know. Crazy stuff. I will agree with that. What are some of your thoughts? We haven't really had much coming through the live chat. I was hoping to get a pro-capitalist person on board so that we could discuss a little bit and maybe see someone that was defending that. And all I'm really saying as an alternative to capitalism is that we should treat the employees as partners. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean immediately they sign on and they get a piece of what you built with your raw, bare hands? No, that's not what it means. But if they are working with you, then there's going to be a point where, there's going to be a point where they are helping you with, they're helping you with their, with you earning money, right, at the end of the day. So, I don't know. They should be treated as a partner. That's all. After a while. Maybe 3 years, 5 years, I don't know, let's talk about it. I don't have the answer to that. I mean, we should have the discussion about that. But I don't know. Not sure what else to say about that. So, what do you guys think? Put it, even if you're watching this on the archive, put a comment in there. I do check the comments. And we can respond to that on the show and discuss some of those things. For some reason, I feel like I'm not getting music coming through the way it's supposed to come through on this. Unfortunately, but oh well, because right now, if it was playing the way it's supposed to, God, why isn't it playing? I don't know. If it was playing the way it was supposed to, it would basically, you would hear Crapola by Old Man Sour. So hopefully next time you'll hear some audio. I don't think it's playing. If it is playing, let me know in the comments. I don't believe it is. But what are your thoughts? Put them down in the comments. Any last minute ideas about the collapse of capitalism? We're going to see a revolt. It's going to be a socialist revolt against a fascist government. It's coming right now. It's happening. It's unfolding in front of us. People who have been through civil war are getting scared about, from other countries that are now here, are getting scared about what is happening in the American world right now. So it's very, very disturbing. And I'm hoping that we can sort of talk about that kind of stuff. And I don't know, hopefully have a productive discussion, and I don't know, it would be cool to see what you guys think, but I don't know. It's been a good talk about a little bit about the potential collapse of capitalism. I think if we move into a new era, what should it be? It should be basically a paradigm where we don't rent humans. We said we're not going to own humans. We shouldn't rent humans. We should be partnering with each other to build an enterprise as partner, not as owner and commodity or hired hand. Rented hand. Now, you could say someone gets hired for a job. That's a little bit different, because you're just out there completing a job, right? People getting hired per hour of their time that requires their body to be there that whole time. That's that's something a little bit different, because it doesn't. I don't know. It requires you to be there. So you can't make passive income, you can't get your time back, and that necessarily makes it so that that the workers are at a disadvantage. But tell me what you think. Put it down in the comments. I haven't seen any new comments. Hopefully it's updating. I don't know. I've been having trouble with YouTube lately. Sounds like other people have too, but I don't know. That's also what I just said. Sounds like a Trumpian type remark, because some people say that YouTube's having problems. But people say, sir, James, sir, can you please answer some questions about something? And yes, I can. So just ask, and thou shalt receive. All right, until next time, it's been the Boyd. Peace out, and enjoy.